Welcome to the MPC Lounge. In this workflow tutorial, we're looking at the brand new update for MPC Live X 2.7. This is bringing Ableton integration directly inside your MPC in standalone mode. This gives you unparalleled control over Ableton Live using MPC's unique live control mode. So to enter live control, it's very straightforward. We go to our menu button and then we go to live control. Now this takes us into our first page, which is the matrix. This enables us to look at all of the clips that are inside Ableton. We can also use our pad shortcut by holding menu and pad 4 to take us into live control. Now you will see three icons, the first being the matrix. The second is our mixer environment from Ableton. This is where we can see all of our levels, and we can control all of our individual channels, sender returns and panning. Then we have the device tab, which gives us instant visual feedback of the plugins that we have assigned to our tracks in Ableton, which we can control directly from our MPC. If you press menu again, this takes us back to our standalone mode. Within the Live Control Matrix tab, our MPC screen represents the 8x8 grid layout within Ableton. Inside Ableton, this is highlighted with a red rectangular line showing you the 8x8 grid. On MPC, we use a white 4x4, which also represents our 16 pads. Now to navigate around our 8x8 grid, we can use our pad banks to go up and down and left and right. We can also navigate in blocks of 8 by just simply holding down Shift and using our same pad banks. This is especially useful if you've populated a session with more than 8 clips per track. Now if we hold down Shift, we can go back to our original 8x8. When using MPC X with live control, to move around our matrix grid, we simply use our cursors. This allows us to navigate left and right, up and down, and again if we want to move in groups of 8, we simply hold down our Shift key. Now let's navigate back to our original 8 tracks. Within our matrix view, clips and scenes are displayed in color with their track names, mirroring the same clip names and colors used in your Ableton session view. When a clip is playing in live control, it is colored white and the playback phase is drawn with a white progress bar. When a clip is in its prepare to play phase, it will flash white until it reaches the launch quantization, and then the clip will play. When a clip is preparing to record or preparing to exit a recording, it will flash red until it reaches the launch quantization boundary. And when a clip is recording, it will be colored red. Now to undo this process, simply press the undo button. Now to delete a clip is very straightforward. Simply highlight the clip and press the delete tab. To add the clip back in again, simply press undo. Now to quantize our clips is very straightforward. We have a quantize button here, and I'm going to be using one of our MIDI clips, which is running our bass line. Now as you can see on our piano roll in Ableton, as soon as I hit quantize, all of our notes are snapped to the grid. Now if you hit our settings icon, here we can change our quantize. So we have 1/16, and you can see our 1/8, our triplets, and then we can just simply select this, and then when we commit to quantize, it will snap to that grid. Now to insert a complete scene, we simply go to our Insert Scene tab. As soon as we press this, we now have a complete scene entered. Now let's press undo. Now to stop all clips playing, simply navigate down to the bottom right of your Touch UI and press the square icon. This will now stop all clips. We can also copy clips directly from our Touch UI. Simply select the clip you wish to copy, hold down Shift and press copy, and this will duplicate the clip. Now to select a clip without triggering, simply hold down the Shift button and use either the pads or the Touch UI to select your clip. As you can see, none of the clips are being triggered. This is also useful if you want to look at the type of effects that you've got assigned to your tracks whilst an arrangement is playing. Now to change the type of launch quantize that you want to use in your clips, simply go to our Touch UI and you can see it says 1 bar. And here you can select the type of launch quantize. Everything from half, quarter, 1/8, triplets, etc. Now to launch a full scene, simply tap the playhead icon on our Touch UI. And as you can see, we can jump through different scenes instantly. And again, they will flash relevant to the quantize that you've selected. We can also use our MPC Live and X hardware in live control mode to record a performance directly into the arranger in Ableton. So this is very straightforward. Now we're in our arrange window, and on MPC we simply hit record and Ableton will be armed and we start playing our clips. And as you can see, it's going to be building the arrangement based on what clips I'm launching directly from our MPC hardware in live control mode. We can also record and capture our automation changes directly from our MPC in live control mode within Ableton. So let's have a look at our drum track and automate that. So I'll expand it, then we're going to press A, which brings up our automation. And we're just going to trigger this clip. Now we're going to go to our mixer tab on our MPC hardware. And now we select our volume. And we are recording automation directly inside Ableton using MPC's Ableton Live Control. So now we've finished recording into our arrangement window, we can now go to the tracks and you can now finish your project directly in Ableton. You can just highlight each track and commit them to the arranger and then finish your project. So now let's take a close look at our mixer environment inside Live Control from our MPC hardware. So as you can see, we can see all of our track names and colors. So let's start our track and you will see that our visual feedback on our channels is also colored relevant to our clips and tracks. Now to jump through our mixer to see our other 8 remaining channels, we simply hold down Shift and we can jump in groups of 8. This will show us some of our third-party plugins and our send and return levels and our master fader. So let's hold Shift and jump back to our original mixer layout. So there's a number of ways that we can control the volume in Live Control. So let's launch a clip and then we double tap the track, and now we can affect this by using the data wheel or using the Touch UI, or we can actually use our Q-Link controls. And to exit out of that track, just touch the UI. Now if we go to the main tab, this is where we can activate our tracks on and off. Just simply touch the UI, turn the tracks off, and then to turn them back on again, simply touch the UI. Very straightforward. And we can solo a track, again by touching the UI. Now we also arm our tracks for record here. So as soon as we press this, it will go red, and this will enable us to record our audio and MIDI into Ableton. So let's turn the record off. Now we can also select our pan in just by double tap, and then we can use our Touch UI, or we can use our data wheel or Q-Link controls. Now on MPC X, you will see all of the visual feedback within the mixer environment on the OLEDs. This will give you the track volume data directly on the first 8, and then to jump to your next 8, simply hold down the Shift and press your right cursor. Here you can see your master, your sender returns, and the third-party plugins we were using. Now let's go to our final tab, which is Sends, And here we can see all of our sends across our channels. Now, as you can see in Ableton, as we select our send channels, we have a reverb, signed, and we have a delay plugin. So let's start using our sends from our live control. Now let's start a track playing. Now I'll select the track I want to affect, and I can use the data wheel or double tap, and that will bring up my send. And as you can see, it's sending the level into the reverb. Let's come with that and use our delay, and we do the same thing. Now I'm sending delay to this track. We can also select the crossfade by selecting A or B. Now let's take a look at our device control tab. This is where we can see our visual feedback and control our instrument and plugin effects within our live control. So let's start off and select our piano track. Now on our Touch UI, you can see 4 tabs. Now this tells us that we have 4 plugins assigned to this track. This is Auto Filter. Now if we use our Device tab, we can jump between each of the plugins on this particular track. Now we also have a Bank Select tab. Now this allows us to scroll through all the different parameter pages within each plugin. So we're in High-Low Shelf. Now we can use our Device tab, go to Fat-Low, and then we can bank through all of our different parameter pages here, see all our different filter types. So this is a really fast way of accessing the data inside each plugin. Now inside MPC X, you can use our OLEDs to see all of the visual feedback from the plugin that you're on and the bank that you select. You will see them auto update. Now to jump through other tracks, simply use the cursors, or you can go to the Touch UI and just simply press on the track. And as you can see, it's auto updating, telling us what plugins we've got assigned to each track. And then again, we can jump through the different devices available. So let's look at how we can control some of these devices. So let's just play this track here. So we can use our Touch UI and simply move the frequency up and down. Go to our resonance, and you'll see Ableton update. We can also use our Q links. So we can go into our Q link, or we can double tap, and again, use the Touch UI to move across the frequency. Now we've got a device on and off control tab. So just simply press that, and it now deactivates the device. Turn it back on. So let's jump to a third-party plugin. Here we go, we've got our trance gate, and we can activate it on just by using our Touch UI, or again, we can use our device on and off tab. So now let's have a look at parameter lock inside our devices. So let's jump to a vocal track, and as you can see, there's 4 plugins assigned to this track. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use our device tab, and we're going to jump to one of our third-party plugins. And we're going to use our filter. Now to activate parameter lock, simply press the icon and it will go into a locked position. So now my Q links will only affect this particular plugin, so I can jump between tracks and I'm only affecting the plugin that's been parameter locked. So let's jump to another track, and I'm still on filter. Go to some more tracks here. You can see we are locked in. Now let's take a closer look at our transport control modes inside Live Control. Now the 3 modes we have available will display key transport modes on our MPC Live and X. So if we go to Settings, and the first mode you'll see is Session, and if we turn our data wheel, you'll see Arrangement and Performance. And these all offer different functionalities when selected. So let's start off with Session. Now this mode displays our tempo, which we can change with our data wheel. Then we have our phase, nudge up and down. Then we have our metronome, which we can turn off and on. And then we also have follow arrangement. So as you can see, we have arrangement playing in Ableton, And when that's selected, it will now follow. And if we turn that off, you'll see that the playhead will continue without the arrangement following. We also have our song position, so we can move this back to the start. Then next to this, we have our MIDI overdub. So when that's enabled, we can overdub over our clips. And then we have automation arm. So now let's go to our second mode, which is arrangement. So we've now selected that, press close. And now you'll see we still have our BPM, but we now have arrangement position. And then next to that, we have our loop start. So here we can move our starting point for our loop. Then we have loop on and off. And then we have our loop length. So let's make this say 2 bars. There we go. And now let's press start. And now we're looping around instantly. And if we want to move this loop point, we can simply go into our position and we can just move our start time. So now let's look at our third mode. So we press settings and this is performance. So let's just close our window. And now this offers us BPM and our phase nudge up and down. We can also use our MPC Live and X in fully standalone mode, taking advantages of all of the features using the Ableton Link protocol. This enables us to synchronize directly inside Ableton Live Control and take advantage of our MPC. So let's go to settings and we turn on Ableton Link under our synchronization. And then within Ableton, we just turn on Link and you will see one connection made between both devices. So now let's go to Live Control, start our track. And now we press main and now we're back into MPC Standalone mode. And now we can put this into record and start recording drums or whatever we want directly in sync with Ableton. Let's use our MPC Quantize. We'll add some swing. And the great thing about this feature is that we can utilize all of our standalone capabilities and we can still control Ableton with our live control. So let's look at using live control to record clips directly into Ableton. So I'm using a controller keyboard, an MPK Mini. So now let's go to live control. So I'm using 2 instances of Serum, which we're going to record into our clips. So let's go to our mixer. We need to arm our track for record. Now we can hear our sound. And we can also change our levels directly from here. So now let's go back over to our matrix. And let's start our track. Now to record, all I need to do is tap my empty clip. And start playing. So to finish our recording, we just tap the clip. And now we're going to quantize our clip. So we just hit quantize and you'll see all the notes snap to our grid. Now let's go to our second instance of Serum, go to our mixer, arm our track for record. And we're going to play our bass line. Go back to matrix. And now we're ready to record. We just tap our empty clip. And tap again to finish. And again, let's quantize this clip. And now they've all snapped. Now let's bring in some more clips. So to use live control, we need to make a network between our devices. So to do this is straightforward. We start off by connecting a USB to Ethernet adapter in the back of our MPC Live X, and then we connect this to our computer. I'm using a Thunderbolt to Ethernet adapter. We then navigate to our menu settings, and Ethernet. Our MPC will now generate an IP address creating our network. So now let's navigate over to our computer and let's load up our Akai network MIDI driver that we've already previously installed. So once loaded, this is now searching for an IP address which has been generated from our MPC. Now this is being created, we go back to our MIDI driver and it's instantly detected the network. Now let's go over to Ableton and load up our program. Once loaded, I'm just going to load up our demo project. Now that's loaded, let's go over to Preferences and we'll go to Link MIDI and making sure that our control surface is set to Akai Force MPC and our inputs and outputs are set to DAW control. So now let's press Menu, Live Control, and now we are inside Ableton, controlling from our MPC. We can also set up a Wi-Fi network using MPC Live and X's Wi-Fi technology for live control. So we'll go to Menu, Settings, turn on our Wi-Fi, and we'll instantly connect to our network. We go over to our computer and we make sure we are on the same wireless network. Now once connected, we go over to our remote driver and you will see that we now have a new network, which is our wireless network. So now let's load up Ableton. And again, we will load up our demo project. And once inside here, we'll go back to our MPC and we go to Menu, Live Control. And now we are wirelessly controlling Ableton from our MPC Live or X. This integration really pushes the boundaries of what we can do with standalone wireless technology.